Hi, wife.
Hello, husband.
We're here. This is another episode of the Young Panda podcast and the debut of Mrs. Panda.
Hello.
Natasha.
Hi. Hello.
This is my wife. Okay. So, Natasha, what did you want to talk about on the Young Panda podcast?
Star Trek.
Why?
Because it is probably the one thing that drives my entire life.
Would you... Hang on, I wrote questions down like at 2 in the morning last night while you were sleeping. Okay.
Great.
So, would you say that it's the franchise that means the most to you?
Yeah, definitely. I think in concept, it's like growing up, it was always my goal to be in Starfleet.
Yeah. Well, you might have that chance because we just saw the flag for Star Force or Space Force.
Yes. So I'm gonna have to go back to school, major in a science thing, so I can go do that. But I think the just general drive to be a better person and do something more is kind of something that I found through Star Trek, you know? And it just it does inspire me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What is it about Star Trek that appeals to you so much?
Like as a form of media or the cult that is Star Trek?
We can start with the media itself.
I think it kind of varies a little series to series, but this aesthetic of space, I think, has a lot to do with it. The futuristic, outfits and experiences and everything, you know, is a common theme throughout all of them that is just so cool to see because it's so different from what we live.
Right.
That it's kind of brings you into a different world, a better idea of what it could be in the future.
So what about Star Trek separates it from other sci-fi franchises and media?
I think the goal of it is a little different. From the beginning, they've always had different value sets than a lot of the other franchises. Like Star Wars, right? With Star Wars, it's more of a adventure film, you know? That's the main goal of it, is it's this adventure. With Star Trek, the goal has always been, exploration and discovery, and eventually it becomes a lot about the, political side of things in this future world, and I think it's always had, it's always just shown that it's good to be good people, if you will.
Yeah.
It has this, sense of, not where it's encouraging people to be heroic, necessarily, but just to be good. At a base level. Just to be good to people, be good to others, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know how else to...
Yeah. I feel like that's something that kind of not pulls me away from Star Trek, but something that stops me from getting super involved is I like stuff with pretty nihilistic themes.
Yeah.
I like stuff where it's the only way to win is to win, and there's still attempts to be a good person and maybe a moral lesson in there. It'd be nice, but I feel like I'm far more fascinated by things that are darker.
Yeah.
I think that might be something that why I prefer Deep Space Nine to the rest of them. What's your favorite?
I think it's hard. I think the original series has a special place in my heart because that's what I grew up watching. But I think the Star Trek Enterprise is actually probably my favorite series because it's kind of the root of everything, and it shows how you get to the rest of the Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
And as a historian, I think that just appeals to me. And, you know, seeing people grow into, like, a totally, like, almost unimaginable future, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem... The actual, like, Star Trek ideal doesn't seem like something that's in reach for us right now. In fact, it's not. It's not in reach for us now.
We got the logo.
We got the logo, but we don't have anything else, you know? And we also haven't had an atomic war that wipes out most of the population, and we have to rebuild as one community, which is a base part of the foundation of Starfleet, but...
Yeah. Wait, what was that? Say it again.
So, like, like, in Enterprise, they explain how, basically, there's this, like, huge war that wipes out a lot of the population of the world, and it causes just a lot of issues. Like, we're living in semi-apocalyptic times for a while, and we kind of redevelop. As a society into this, like, utopian kind of future, that...
You can't see it, but my face just said, that's not gonna happen. If we go down, we're going down.
But, so, and it causes people to come together, basically. We develop this utopian kind of future that we're able to separate our differences and come together as a society and form Starfleet as well, because, yeah, we're better than. We've
developed.
We've experienced more.
The human race has grown up.
Yeah.
So, would you say that it's a more, like, optimistic future? Like, it's something that is almost like escapism in terms of, like, the ideologies?
I don't know that I would say it's escapism, especially when you get into the later series, like Next Generation and stuff like that, when it's further along, just because basically everything except the original series does have a more realistic outlook on, like, how people are, like, how human beings function. And it's not as, like, utopian feeling.
Yeah.
It still has this, like, we're better than you mentality. Like, where it's a more developed society, but it's still acknowledging that there are bad people in that society and that things can go wrong and will go wrong on a personal level. And I think because of that, it's not necessarily like a utopian picture.
Right.
I think it's a realistic hope for the future.
Yeah.
You know, it's what the creators hope that us, the human race, will become.
Would you say that? Yeah. So what my thing is, like, it's this really cool, like, space adventure stuff, but it's very much like a representation of what life on Earth is like.
Yeah.
Hold on, Natasha's got to take a picture of me and our dog because the angle is just right.
He's a sleepy boy. This is too cute. It's too cute.
You should send that to me, and I'll put it on the screen now. It's definitely got that parallel to how human beings behave and how nations and groups and communities interact and argue and fight, and it's almost like we could take the ideals of Starfleet and apply it to, for example, the United States military or whatever. Of course, it's structured so differently. It'd have to be almost like a new thing. But I think it's Star Trek could really be used as like a good guide, which is why it's funny that that Space Force flag, it gave me a little bit of hope for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, maybe they're gonna treat this properly. It's probably not gonna be like that. But.
I think it's hard to realistically like hope that we will ever get to that point in any near future. You know?
Well, yeah. Let alone like going to space and having space adventures, but just like having people unify and become a part of the same team.
It just seems so unrealistic, you know, and looking at national relations, you know, between countries, like it's just the idea of the world becoming a unified place, all for this, like, I don't even want to say one cause, but just the idea of us working out our differences, all of them, to the point that we could unify as a planet and then go into space and trust ourselves to equally represent our planet in like a good light and not have to worry about like specific groups or countries trying to like do things for their own scheming purposes. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Which is why they had the war that decimated the planet's population.
Yeah. Not to always bring it back to Gundam, but that's definitely what's going on in Gundam. Is it's the same thing? Like the Earth was challenged by some global cataclysm, and then we realize that Earth is not enough, and we need to spread out, and they start building colonies. And once we're out in space, it just starts. We just start new wars.
Yeah. Because,
I mean, maybe that's the thing. Is Star Trek a realistic dream? Is it is Star Trek a realistic dream? Is it actually something that we could accomplish, or is it just human nature to always be fighting?
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what you believe.
Yeah. It kind of comes down to the core question of are human beings good or evil, like by nature?
Yeah.
Which we have different perspectives on. So from my perspective, definitely that's not it's not gonna happen.
That's so funny. It's so funny that you've got like this like really like positive like viewpoint and ideology, but like your view of the way people are is far different than mine. Because I think everything is gonna go bad and not be good. But like I think people are generally not necessarily good, but like they're just kind of trying to be okay.
Yeah. And
sometimes that you get put in a place where you have to be a bad person in order to survive. And a lot of people, you know, not a lot of people, but for everyone, survival is number one. And everything else is just culture and your upbringing and what your society tells you to do and what you think is right or wrong, which is also taught to you. And I think it's almost silly to view people as like individually good or bad. I think it's like groups and societies, which is why like I think Star Trek is like it's a beautiful dream of people all believing in the same thing, that we can work together, and then that spreading out to that being so effective that it spreads out into different races and species and planets and galaxies. Well, maybe not galaxies. They never really get out of the galaxy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that aspect. That people are going to be driven by their needs. But I think like
time to wake up, dude. It's 8:45.
I think like as if you look at things like a baby, when a baby is born, like that question of at this, you know, pure untampered state, is this being good or evil? And I think what it kind of comes down to is like they're selfish, they're self-driven, they're driven by their desires, which in our society is generally considered to be a bad thing, to be selfish.
So would you call like selfishness being like the essence of evil?
Kind of. It's just like as a baby, it's very rare that you find that babies are like, oh, let me give this like other random baby their toy. Like when they do tests and stuff, most of the time the babies don't want to share their toys.
It's hard to find a selfless baby that'll just like pull up a cup of coffee and ask how you're doing.
Yeah. But like because of that, I just think that we have to grow to a point where wow. I think that was a printer. I think it just I don't know.
Look at me.
But so I think that the future, like the human aspect of it on an individual basis is not that far away, because that's kind of where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, especially in our generation, are coming to this point where they are more selfless. Whether or not that's taught is a different question.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, they are more selfless. They're more driven by the need of the group rather than the individual.
Yeah.
And I think going forward, we'll continue to raise more and more selfless like generations.
Yeah.
And so in that way, on an individual basis, I don't think that future is so far away.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem is there's always going to be outliers in those groups.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, those outliers are who ends up in government or high up positions. And they're the ones running the states, the countries,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the problem in becoming this fully selfless society comes in,
Yeah. The thing is, there's also a big group of people that don't believe in selflessness.
Yeah.
That like equate it with communism or whatever their thing is, that like, oh, me not getting what I want is a sign of evil. Like I think this whole coronavirus thing is a perfect example of like why it's going to be a long time before we can actually make Space Force into Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because I think that'll be a rule. If you went through this and you protested and refused to wear a mask and all that stuff, you're not allowed to join Starfleet.
Yeah.
We're going to put you on the moon colonies.
Yeah. Yeah. We should put them on the moon colonies. I don't know. I think one of the things you learn early on through history is that takes a lot longer to advance than you would think. And most of the time, a period of advancement is proceeding? What's in
Preceding?
When it comes after.
Comes after. You say comes after.
There's another word, right?
It precedes. It succeeds.
Succeeds. It succeeds. But a period of growth and like prosperity and like advancement succeeds the period of like an intense period of nothingness, like a
long dark ages.
Yeah,
you can't have the Enlightenment without the Dark Ages.
Yeah, and like the Dark Ages, controversial term, the Dark Ages, but
we'll save that for the history podcast.
Yeah. But it's I think sometimes as societies need the like loss of hope, to kind of spark a new age of development, which does give me hope in some ways that the Star Trek reality might be sooner than not, because we're in a pretty hopeless time.
That's a really good way to think about it. The upcoming, everyone can just, there's in the air, you can feel that shit's bad and gonna get worse.
Yeah.
And I think we've been feeling that since Trump got in.
Yeah.
We've been feeling that pretty strongly. Just oh wow, we're on a back heel now. We're kind of going back into a less progressive, less forward thinking, less intelligent time.
Mm-hmm.
The people running the place aren't as smart. Trump is a dumb man.
Yeah.
And he's got all the power and all the guns and weapons and bombs and stuff. And so following what is upcoming to be a bad time will be a really good time, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, I think sometimes in order for great change to happen, big movements and, things to actually work out and happen,
mm-hmm.
we have to be uncomfortable, because you're comfortable before that. Too many people are comfortable before.
Yeah.
And you have this, this process of, slowly getting worse.
Yeah.
The environment. And eventually, enough people will get uncomfortable enough that change will actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have enough people wanting it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you look at it in that perspective, these, kind of, the hopeless times do generally tend to turn out better times in the long run,
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, right now, systems are failing, people are panicking,
Yeah.
things aren't going very well, but at the same time, everyone's comfortable. Everyone's in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
People are stressed, and some people can't pay their rent or whatever. It's not good for everyone.
Yeah.
But still, the majority of people are in a place where most of the time they're fed and comfortable and happy and fully entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Animal Crossing, it's not upsetting enough for me to actually want change.
Yeah.
I mean, I see stuff I don't like, but that's not enough for me to get out there and demand change.
Yeah.
And the thing is also, so the thing about Star Trek that I think a lot of people gloss over is what you essentially have is an all-encompassing government.
Yeah.
That, I mean, they don't really get into what's going on Earth.
Yeah.
But, that's a strong fucking military.
Yeah.
Really. It's, in terms of our government system,
Mm-hmm.
you have to give the UN, basically, all of this power.
Yeah.
And the hope is that they turn everything into, that they're able to help develop everything into a utopia and then spread that out into the future.
Yeah.
But if we've seen, and a big thing that is troubling in America is we don't want to give governments any more power because we don't believe in governments. We don't think they work. And the Star Trek future is about an all-powerful, all-wonderful government.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think a big part of that is a mutual trust in people in general that is not present right now. I don't trust most people. I basically don't trust anyone, and I think that's how a lot of people are, because right now we live in a society where you can't really trust people.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. Some people think you can trust people, but I'm not one of those people. And you kind of approach everything with this, like, hesitation. Yeah. That's how you approach everyone and everything in terms of government. Mm-hmm. And I think to get to a point where we are able to trust the government to that extent, to give them that power, you have to trust the people that are in government first. And that's just not
happening anytime soon.
That's not happening right now, you know? And I think that's where it comes in, that change on a personal level throughout the generations of just more trustworthy people because they're more selfless. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And that's getting towards that is like a really good goal. Mm-hmm. And like, it's hard to not feel like America is really trying to pull back on that. Yeah. Trying to avoid that. Like, no, I'll have my land, I'll have my gun, mm-hmm. and you be over there with your gun, and the only reason I can trust you is because I have my gun. Yeah. And sort of that viewpoint is so prevalent in America. It's kind of like the core of our ideals is based on individual liberty and mm-hmm. absolute freedom and, like, don't tell me what to do. Yeah. I do whatever I want when I want. Yeah. Don't tread on me. And getting towards a future like that is going to be hard. And I just think we need the Vulcans to come. Just like one hyper intelligent race to come. Like, you guys need some help? Yeah.
See, but the thing is with that is that, like, when the Vulcans came, they weren't supposed to intervene as early as they did, but they did. Yeah. You know, like they ended up regretting it. They intervened, and then they realized we weren't ready, in their opinion.
Oh, okay.
To enter space, right? Okay. To enter this new sphere. Mm-hmm. And in the series, you know, we convinced them. And that's what Enterprise is all about. Mm-hmm. Is like this process of basically racism between the Vulcans and the humans. Sick. And the humans kind of coming back and proving their worth, and that they are ready to enter this new world, you know. And the Vulcans look down at us mm-hmm. a lot, and I think that's kind of how it would be. But the whole basis of Star Trek Enterprise is this idea that despite the fact that we're all idiots, we have this redeeming quality as humans that is just this naive drive to accomplish whatever goal we have mm-hmm. at any cost, period. We're gonna do it. Yeah. We're gonna finish it. And that's kind of like what that, like, explorative spirit is, you know? And in the past it has caused problems. Colonialism, you know? Yeah. Which obviously not good. And, like, going into space, that would be something that, like, we have to be conscious of, is that we're not colonizing other planets.
Yeah. That's Starfleet is refined colonialism. Improved it's about going everywhere, connecting everything, when they're ready, helping them improve or whatever. Yeah. Like, connecting them to this incredible network of all these different places, and then you can begin trade or whatever. Yeah. But the thing is, you cannot intervene. Yeah. Prime Directive.
But that's something that was developed later on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Prime Directive wasn't developed until the Next Generation timeline.
Really? Oh.
Basically after the original series is when the Prime Directive was developed.
Yeah.
That was not mentioned. And you can I mean,
tell.
it was made in the...
Isn't there an
60s.
episode where Kirk goes down to a planet and reads them the Constitution of America or something? I've never seen it.
I don't remember that. Might be wrong. It's been a while since I rewatched that. Mm-hmm. I have a terrible memory, but I don't remember that specifically.
But there were more. They were going down and intervening a lot more.
They were, for sure. They were. They. I don't remember when, but I think at some point it was mentioned that they were basically the reason why they had to, like, form the Prime Directive.
And Captain Kirk took it a little too far in some places. Started killing kings.
Well, but I mean, there are a lot of things that led up to it in the series, you know, because even in Enterprise, there are things that were done. Which is, I have a theory that part of the reason why they went back to a prequel was not only to explain it, but also because they can do, like, a lot more fun stuff with the series itself, because the Prime Directive wasn't present at the time.
Oh, okay.
So
you could have a little more Wild West fun with it, because you don't need all them interplanetary laws getting in the way. It's the same reason that Hollywood was obsessed with the Wild West for a bunch of years.
Yeah. And so...
I actually wanted to ask you a little bit about... you've expressed to me before that Voyager is your favorite.
So I do love Voyager a lot. Mm. I think it just changes day by day. Like, which one is my favorite that day? Today it's Enterprise. But that's partially because I love Trip so much.
Trips?
Trip. It's his nickname is one of the characters in the series.
The cutie? Is he a cutie?
Yeah.
Say it. Hurt me. Hurt me.
He's not. I never thought he was too big of a cutie, but he is just this, like, country boy, like, engineer, and he's just wild. There's the one episode that really endeared me to him, and it was he was hanging out with this alien girl.
Oh.
And they're just hanging out. And they did this weird, like, thing with, like, glowy things and stuff. And he was just, he was just hanging out with her. Like, he didn't think he was doing anything. Well, it turns out that's, like, basically, like, sex for them. So, like, essentially, there was a baby. A baby was made. And he got in so much trouble, because you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to...
Impregnate other species?
Yeah.
Can you even... Okay.
And he was just, like, so clueless. He was like, I had no idea. Like, I literally... How was I supposed to know that that's what was going on? I think we were just having a picnic, you know? And I don't know, I just really liked that whole scenario and how, like innocent he was in it. He was just like, I don't understand, But back to Voyager. Voyager is amazing. I think.
So the premise of Voyager is that they're, like, way away from anything civilized, and it's sort of back to that. Not anything civilized, but anything related to the Federation.
Yes.
Anything that is involved with our connection. Like, it's back. It's a great way to get back to the Wild Wild West elements.
But see, so Captain Janeway is a very strong woman, and I think that she was the perfect captain for that adventure. Mm-hmm. And I think it's for a reason, they saw the opportunity and they perfectly designed this character for it, and it makes the most sense because despite being far away from all of her obligations to Starfleet, the entire time she still continued to follow the Starfleet, like, rules and agenda to the best of her ability. She was out there helping as many people as she could, and they interfered with other races as little as possible.
Okay.
You know, they had obviously they had to trade, they had to get resources, and sometimes they would mess up on, you know, the Prime Directive and other things. But overall, she was a great leader. And I think watching Voyager was kind of one of the moments where I was like, I think I need to do more with my life than
Really?
be a high school teacher.
Oh boy.
You know? So in that way, you know, it's amazing and it's inspirational. And a lot of people don't like Voyager, but I think it's like, even Deep Space Nine is my least favorite, right? And I still like it. I'll still watch it.
Right. So if I can ask, what is it about Deep Space Nine that you and your father dislike so much?
I think there's different reasons. I mean, my dad don't like it, but I think for me it's just the fact that they're not on a spaceship. They're not moving around.
Yeah.
You know, so that makes the like different things very limited. As far as adventures and stuff. It's more about diplomacy than anything. And I'm not a political science person, you know. But it's still good. It still has value, you know. I think every series kind of has these sets of lessons that they want to convey to the viewer, and I think Deep Space Nine is more about the kindness than anything else, you know?
Really?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. The equality, if you will.
Okay.
You know, it's about finding compromise and doing your best to find a place of equality for everyone.
It's all the parts of managing a utopian society where everyone gets along and works together that aren't fun.
Yeah.
It's all the parts of that aren't the cool parts about it. It's the difficult work of denying what you want and sharing and trying to develop good relationships with people that you really don't like.
And I think the other part of it for me is that I hate the actors in Deep Space Nine, most of them. Well, let's say the two main characters I dislike a lot.
Kira and
what's his name?
I'm trying to say his name. The captain.
Yeah.
Captain guy.
I don't think he's a captain. I think his title is something else.
Commander Shepard.
Let me look it up real quick because it's gonna bug me. Benjamin Sisko. I dislike him so much as an actor.
As an actor?
Yeah, I think he's terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
Or is it the character?
No, it's the actor. I feel like if anyone else would have played his role, I would have been so much happier with it. And the same thing, but what's the other girl? Kira.
Kira.
I just don't like her character.
Okay. She is.
I think they wrote her with very much with like something to prove, and I don't think she should have been. I think it would have been a lot better if she was just like this like strong, confident woman rather than like and I understand I think why the writers would have chosen to do that, to write her the way they did.
Yeah.
Because she was Bajoran and she was under what's the other guy's?
Nosebone.
Cardassian rule.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember anything. I think it's the masks. Doing like nitric oxide poisoning or something.
What?
Not nitric oxide. What's the other word?
I don't watch Star Trek. I don't.
But okay. Anyway.
Carbon monoxide?
Carbon monoxide.
Do they poison people?
No. So like, if your mask isn't like carbon monoxide approved or whatever, it can sometimes it like collects the carbon monoxide and then you breathe it in and it makes you stupid. But
did I black out or something? What? Why are you bringing this up?
Because I can't remember anything. I feel so dumb recently. Anyway.
Oh. Okay.
But anyway, I think if they would have written her character as this like strong, confident rebel woman, like it would have been a million times better.
Yeah.
But she has a lot of issues, right? That she needs to work on. And like, they didn't portray that in a realistic way. Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like they portrayed it as like a man looking at
what
women who have issues are like, you know? A
lot of periods.
Yeah, kind of a lot of moodiness. A lot of like, I don't want to because I'm the boss. Meh, you know, like that kind of thing.
That's
which I like. Her whole character to me was a little like offensive because of that standpoint.
Sounds like all the women in Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. That's how they all are in that one.
Yeah,
I don't like that one. Yeah, that's you.
Yeah. So let's just move on. But yeah, so I don't like that. But there are a lot of other characters that I do really enjoy in that series. Like I love Odo. He's like probably one of my favorites.
I think I've only seen like the first season-ish, not even all of it. But I think my favorite thing is Odo and Quark. Their whole little dynamic and how he's always trying to get it. So it's like a more complicated space Tom and Jerry.
Yeah. I also don't like how they portrayed Worf in that series.
Oh yeah, when does Worf come in?
Later on.
I don't like Worf.
Here's
I don't like
thing.
Worf.
I like Worf. I love Worf. In Next Generation, they bring him onto the space station, and he's kind of a little bitch, you know.
He was a little bitch on Next Gen.
But that's the problem. He was a little bitch on Next Gen in the first like season.
In like the first 4 seasons.
You get development, right? And you see where he struggles and where, you know, he improves, and there's just so much there as a person, right?
Yeah.
This person. And I feel like in Deep Space Nine, they just brought him on to be there.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, oh, look, we have Worf now. Mm-hmm. You want to watch? You want to watch us? And it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't match where his character would be, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just, if we watch the series together, I'll point out all of the flaws.
Okay.
We'll by play.
We'll have to do that.
We will eventually, it's just...
Yeah. So at this point, I've seen about a season and a half of the TOS, like half of Next Generation, half a season of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And a handful of episodes from Voyager and Enterprise. And almost the whole first season of Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
So, before we get into Star Trek Discovery, because we need to talk about that. Do you engage with the fan base at all?
No, not really. I'm just not really online very much.
You're not a real internet person.
No. I don't know why.
You ever been in a chat room?
No, actually I haven't.
You ever been on a website?
I have been on a website,
yes. Would you?
I don't know.
That's the thing, is like...
I'm just not... not a very sociable person. You know?
Yeah.
I don't like talking to people.
Yeah. It's you don't want to... Because the whole thing is, like, you go on there and you talk about the show you like.
Yeah.
And if you feel satisfied enough with how you feel about the show, you might not need to talk about it any further.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I don't, but
it's weird. It's like, so when I'm on the Gundam fan base stuff, like, I'm still, like, getting involved and acclimated with it. You've been a fan for so long, and like, you've seen everything. It's like, what's there to talk about?
Yeah, I think that it might be part of it, because
the franchise is dead, right?
Yeah. Well, and let me just say, I have watched the original series in completion from beginning to end probably about 4 times. Because that's what I grew up watching. That's what my parents showed me first. We had the complete DVD set of all the seasons.
I've seen it.
And so, like, whenever I would get bored, I would just rewatch it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think because of that, like, because I was introduced to it so early, like, the concept of, like, the fandom and, like, going and, like, discussing it, I don't know, it just doesn't really, like...
But you'd be down to go to a Star Trek convention?
Yes, I want to go. I want to go so bad. I also don't want to spend, like, $1 million to go, but whatever.
Well, that's the thing. It's $1 million to go to Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Anyways, what were you going to say before I interrupted you?
I would be, like, opposed to, like, talking to people about it. It's just, like, I haven't. Like, I think this is what I was saying. I think I was saying that, like, because I started watching so early, like, I started watching it when I was, like, 5.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to be on a chat room talking about it.
Yeah.
So, like, my experience with the series was never, like, one and the same with, like, the experience of the fandom.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So, like, I went through... I mean, I finished watching most of the series by the time I was in 8th grade. So, even then, you know, you're not really in chat rooms that much. At least I especially wasn't, because my parents were so strict. So I wasn't, like, talking to random people on the internet. So I wasn't in a chat room. So that just wasn't connected with my experience.
That's
you know?
Interesting.
And my parents were never, like, convention people, so it's not like I would have gotten the opportunity to go to a convention, because I didn't really even know about conventions until probably, like, high school.
Fucking adorable as that would have been. You running around at a Star Trek convention with little
like
ears.
Like our kids will be, you know? But I don't know, you know?
Yeah. I think that's interesting, though, how, like, you've never been that kind of person. Like, we watch a show and you like, Google it.
Yeah.
But that's me, because, you know, when I was, like, all the shows I've gotten into really hardcore are, like, Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones or whatever, like, there is a big community element to it.
Yeah.
Where, like, if you finish the episode and then you hop online and start talking to people about it, because it was, like, crazy. And, like, also, they write a lot of stuff with that in mind. Like, they put hints, and then they let the theorists online go at it, and then part of enjoying the show is getting online and reading everything. And now I do that with everything. I'm a part of the Columbo subreddit, because we're such big Columbo fans.
And I think that, like, I'm just not big with stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it might be because I don't really like recent shows for the most part, especially, like, shows like that
Breaking
that have
Bad.
this, like, fandom that you go online after you talk to people about it. Like, the closest thing I can think about would be The Walking Dead, which I was a fan of for the first couple seasons. And I just got tired of it. I felt like it was, like, repeating itself and stuff. But even then, like, they would advertise, like, oh, hey, like, here's this website you can go on and, like, talk to everyone else. And it's like, why would I do that? I'm going to bed, dude. You know?
Meanwhile, I'm sitting next to you 2 a.m. in bed, texting people about Gundam.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know why that is. It's just not... I think it must come down to the fact that I'm just not a super social person.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you don't need it.
It could be.
Because it's a TV show, and it's just like... The thing is, like, there's like two different types of TV shows that kind of got split when the internet got popular. It was the kind of show that you watch, and then you get the full experience just by watching it, and then you're done. And then there's like densely packed, difficult to understand, unless you kind of go and engage with the community, and everyone can break down different little pieces and understand it. And like that was... Like, a lot of Breaking Bad was like, wait, what just happened at the end? And then, like, someone would explain it to you, because I'm too dumb to understand shit on my own. And then I was like, oh, that's great. True. I know. You're so nice to me.
There will be no down-talking yourself while I'm here.
Alright. But there will be down-talking me on the podcast. So, are there any elements of Star Trek that you dislike?
I mean... Of course. If we want to go series by series, the original series is obviously extremely sexist. But like, also if you take into account the time period, did pretty well. There was a woman working on the bridge.
Yeah, I'm sure they could have voted too.
You know, and so you have to kind of look at things from that perspective. And so, like, other than that, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know? I think as I've gotten older, it's gotten more frustrating to watch, though.
Yeah.
Just because...
You went to college and found out what sexism really means.
Well, even just in high school and stuff, but... Then, with the Next Generation, I think I had a lot of problems with Picard. Wasn't a big fan of him.
His leadership style is far different than Kirk's.
Yeah, and I think I was always raised... I think one of the reasons I might find so few problems with the original series is because that's what I was raised on, so that's what I know. And also, like, I was literally raised in the image of Spock. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So, to
bury your feelings and be emotionless.
Yes.
Then you've got sensitive little Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah, his little wuss.
He was not a wuss, he was a diplomat.
Yes. Which I am not. But
that was the thing, we were watching something with your dad, and Kirk did something cool, and then he said, "Oh, Picard would have surrendered to him."
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, but that's... Picard also had like a city on his brig. Like there was like families like living their life. I don't know if that was necessarily on the... To me, the original series seems more like a smaller crew. I mean, I know it's this exact same ship.
It's actually not.
Right?
It's so they're both called the Enterprise.
I love you so
much.
But
the Enterprise that Picard has is much bigger.
Okay.
It's the next generation of the Enterprise ship.
And it is like it's. Am I wrong to think like it's far bigger and there's like families and it's like a city?
It is far bigger. There are no families on the original series ship, aside from specific rare occasions. Think about it like.
It was
a naval base.
It was literally like a military base. It was a military ship, and the Enterprise is this little civilization.
Yeah, and so I get that to some extent. And I did grow to respect Picard throughout the seasons. I thought Riker was a man whore.
Right, it's funny. I feel like if you split Captain Kirk right down the middle. You get Riker and Picard.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's kind of what they were going for in some senses. But
because it doesn't make sense to have like the leader of your ship to go out and be the front man for the adventures.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a guy dedicated to that, you can have your main captain still show up, and then when that one dies, you can get a new one.
Yeah.
And that guy, you take the risk, you get to fuck everybody. That's the benefit you get.
Yeah.
And a weird, very open relationship with this woman that can read your brain.
Yeah.
Or whatever, what the fuck was going on there.
And, like, the thing is, like, I love Troy. I love Deanna Troy. I thought she was a great character. Didn't like her I didn't support her relationship with Riker. Did not ship it.
You know how I was shipping the whole time? And it never turned into anything? Beverly Crusher and Picard. Well, maybe not the whole time, but the first season, there's a lot of sexual tension between them.
Yeah.
And I like them. I like that he's like a reserved type of like quiet, sensitive type man. And
how far have you gotten into Next Generation?
Like 4 seasons.
Okay.
Do they fuck in season 5? Babe.
I can't say anything because you don't like spoilers, but...
She's mad because I never spoil anything for her.
I don't mind spoilers because
don't.
I don't care.
I just don't want to normalize that kind of activity in this household.
Here, you want to take a turn with the dog?
Yeah.
My legs are hot. So...
I'm holding like a little baby.
He doesn't like it. He doesn't want... Oh, he wants it with Mad. Okay. But I like a lot of the other characters. I'm gonna look up the character list because I don't remember all their names.
Wesley Crusher, Beverly Crusher, got Natasha Yar in the first season.
I hate Natasha Yar. I was like, how dare I share my name with her?
There's Worf.
I love Worf. I think he's great.
There's Ensign Kim.
I think my goal was always to be a mix of Worf and Spock. I like Wesley Crusher.
I think you might be the only one.
I know. But I think part of it was like I was about his age when I was watching it.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see like, oh, there's a kid over there, you know?
That's cool.
That's like in Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, and like kind of just doing his thing on a ship. It was cool. It was cool to see. Geordie LaForge.
Oh, yeah.
A classic. A great one. There was also Guinan, who's this amazing creature.
Fucking love Guinan.
She's so great.
You got Q.
Of course, Data.
Oh, how can we fucking forget about Data?
I get them mixed up. I get all the series cast mixed up because I've seen everything. So
I just said Ensign Kim, but that was a joke.
There's O'Brien.
O'Brien's cool. I like O'Brien in Next Gen because he's kind of just whatever.
Yeah.
He's literally in that one room the whole time. But he's still like a recurring enough character that you get his updates.
Yeah.
My wife. There's a comic series of just O'Brien and his adventures on Next Gen.
There shouldn't be.
I really liked him in Deep Space Nine too.
Yeah.
He becomes a lot more interesting of a character. But I've only seen a couple episodes, so I can't talk properly about it.
Okay, so let's move on to Voyager.
Okay.
And what I dislike about that series. I think sometimes they overdid it a little.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Chakotay. Sometimes it just felt weird. Like sometimes, I think a lot of times they were trying very hard to have equal representation in the cast, which I respect.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. But I think sometimes they were really trying to like push in stuff from the different characters.
Yeah.
That they didn't really write into the script.
No.
It was like almost like an afterthought.
Yeah.
So it made it seem really like unrealistic.
Yeah.
And also, there were a few very bad actors on that one. And they did get better with time. But it was kind of like Riker in Next Generation.
Yeah.
Terrible actor the first few seasons, and he kind of like grew into the character.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing happened with Chakotay. I don't want to hate on him too much, because I do like him as a character, the idea. And of course, they had 7 of 9, which was amazing. They had B'Elanna Torres, which was one of my favorite characters of all time. I love her. I wanted to be her.
B'Elanna Torres.
She was the Klingon mixed.
Oh, yes.
Child. She was not a child, but
she was the child of a Klingon and
human. And she had a lot of issues because of that she worked throughout the series, and she was just an amazing character. You have Neelix, who's great. I was never really a big fan of Kess, which is like the alien girl that they found, and she was kind of like childish, and just how they ended her character was really weird too. She became this like all-knowing being that was like really, I don't know, it was weird. Didn't like it. Tom Paris was a great character. I loved him and B'Elanna. They were amazing. And then, of course, Harry Kim, who was the greatest little guy, you know?
Sure.
He was the young one, and I think his friendship with Tom was also a really big, like, aspect that I love to see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
You didn't say anything you disliked. Except for
Chakotay. Yeah, he wasn't great at the beginning. Voyager was a really good series.
Okay.
Can't say much about
Enterprise.
It was all around amazing.
Yeah. No complaints.
I don't think I can. I don't think I can. They have the Andorians, which are one of my favorite species in the Star Trek universe. The antenna guys.
Why do you like them?
Let me show you a picture of them.
I know what they look like. They're blue, right?
Yeah. Don't you want to be them? The little antennas?
That's so funny. You've been
They're
saying
all
like
sassy?
You've been saying like, oh, if I was a Star Trek species, I'd be an Andorian for a while.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't realize that it was just because they look cool.
No, I like their personalities. They're all very blunt, like, just straight to the point, no BS,
Mm-hmm.
like, just...
How do they differ from Vulcans?
Vulcans are emotionless. Andorians are more...
Sassy.
Mad.
Mad.
They're more pissed off at the world, you know? They have more of a temper.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily relate to, but I get, you know?
You don't relate.
I don't have a temper.
You get pissed off.
Yeah, when people are dumb. Which is probably why I relate to them so much, and I want to be them.
Because everyone's dumb.
I took a quiz that was like, which Star Trek species would you be? And it was Andorian. Yeah.
So enough with what's wrong about the good series. I want to hear your thoughts on Discovery.
I don't think it's Star Trek.
Okay.
I don't think of it as Star Trek. I watched the first season, and I don't think it should be called Star Trek.
Yeah.
It just feels really different.
But wouldn't you also say that like Deep Space Nine feels very different?
No.
No?
Well, yes, but no. It still holds the same values. It's still so clear it's in the same universe. Deep Space Nine, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Orville.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels like it's in that universe.
Deep Space Nine?
Yeah. Or not Deep Space Nine, the Discovery.
Discovery?
Yeah.
It's funny, they came out at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and like, it's like Star Trek fans, a lot of them felt like the Orville was better and more of a Star Trek series in terms of like feel.
100% yes.
Yeah, but also the Orville was trying to be a Star Trek show.
Yeah,
you know, but it was at a time when we didn't have it, and unfortunately, I wasn't interested in it because of Seth MacFarlane, and I've grown past his style of humor.
Yeah. I think it was good. I watched the Orville and it was better than Star Trek Discovery.
I think I saw an episode where like I saw a trailer and it was like a guy walks out and he's like, "I've got a butt for a dick," and like that. I'm okay. Thank you though.
Discovery felt like it was trying too hard to be a movie.
Yeah. Trying too hard to be a big action movie.
Also, yeah, it was trying to be an action movie, but it was also trying to be like a drama almost, like a drama action.
Yeah.
And I hate drama, like the genre. I feel like Star Trek has always been like an exploration show.
Yes.
And it's not a drama action, you know?
Yeah. So, I don't know if you've ever... There's this documentary or something that's kind of short. It's like... It was called like Trouble on the Bridge or something. And it was about how there was a lot of drama on the set of The Next Generation because when they were writing it, Gene Roddenberry was like, no, I don't want there to be like interpersonal conflicts between the characters. Like, I don't want there to be like the characters aren't fighting over petty shit in between each other. They've grown past that.
Yeah.
The human race has grown past that entire need to consistently be trying to prove yourself. And then Discovery really feels like a step back where like the people are always fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always like this personal vendetta driving the show, and it's just like, why? Like that's not what Star Trek is. Yeah. You know, and I think they tried to make this more realistic version of it. But it's already there. It already exists.
The thing is,
you
like,
can't recreate the universe.
You have to lift out some realism somewhere in order to get to any kind of sci-fi.
Yeah.
And, like, if you want to lift... And the thing is, Star Trek lifted out the realism of people are kind of just naturally selfish and shitty. So, the realism they lift out of the original series is that, like, people being mean to each other.
Yeah.
And pointlessly harmful and selfish. And then Discovery puts that back in order to make it more realistic.
Yeah.
When the whole thing is, it's not realistic. How could we have gotten to the point that we're at in the show if people aren't being nice to each other?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And yeah, there's some cool stuff in Discovery, I think. Like,
there's cool effects.
Yeah, there's cool effects.
Cool concepts.
Cool little concepts.
That are done very well. But there's cool stuff in the Orville.
Yeah.
There's cool stuff in Star Wars. Doesn't make it Star Trek.
No.
You know? Mm-hmm. And I think it's a shame and it's a waste that they had to take that route. And I've heard from some people that the second season is better.
I've heard it's worse.
I don't want to, I'm not willing to waste another 8 hours of my life or whatever, but, I don't know.
Do you have any interest in seeing Picard?
No. I didn't even like him, really, Why would I want to watch a whole series based on him?
About him being 90 years old? And
yeah.
Have you seen the trailers or anything?
Yeah.
They said, like, it's going to be a lot more thoughtful, introspective type show. Like it used to be. And then, like, the first trailer that comes out is, like, this little girl, does this karate kick and kicks this dude out of the dimension or something. And, like, a sparkling effect makes him disappear on like, an ancient staircase. And I was like, that's not introspective. This action scene.
Yeah,
I think Star Trek started to go downhill when they stopped using the double fist punch. Did that. Like it was some advanced form of martial arts.
Yeah, it was That was the moment. Yeah, I just don't have much to say about it because it's bad.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that
probably covers.
Yeah, that probably covers it.
Yeah, probably covers it.
Well, this is the Young Panda and Mrs. Panda.
Hello.
Signing off.
Or goodbye.